So, what would happen if you gave up reading, scrolling on social media, listening to any podcasts, consuming any other people's content for an entire week? I don't know, but I'm about to find out because I am doing week 4 of the Artist Way, which calls for a total deprivation of consuming other people's ideas. Obviously, you're consuming my video right now. We're constantly consuming other people's content and opinions. And I think that all of this input is actually keeping us stuck because we're so inundated with other people's ideas that we never give our own thoughts enough space to emerge. Julia Cameron basically calls us out in this chapter where she's like, you want to be creative? Well, then stop consuming and start creating. I really am feeling a lot of resistance to doing this, but because I love you guys and I'm committed to you guys for the series, I'm going all in on it this week, and I am so curious to see what comes up. If you're new here, my name is Jacy, and I am documenting my 12-week journey through the Artist Way, which is Julia Cameron's guide to discovering or reconnecting to your creative self. Parts 1 through 3 are all up now, but you don't have to watch them in order because each video is kind of a standalone series. So if this is your first time seeing me, you can start here. You can go back and watch the other ones. You are free to consume however you'd like. Week 4 is all about getting honest between what you say you feel and what you actually feel. Apparently, step 1 is cutting off all external input that's drowning out our inner voice. Okay, so how does reading deprivation connect to integrity? When Julia Cameron wrote this book, she created the Reading Deprivation Challenge, but social media wasn't even a thing when this book was created. So I extended the challenge to basically all consumption, no books, no articles, no social media, no podcasts, no YouTube videos, because my screen time right now is a daily average of 5 hours and 30 minutes, and 3 hours and 27 of those minutes are from social media. So I'm about to have a lot more time in my day to figure out what is underneath the surface. The reason that this relates to integrity is because integrity requires knowing who you really are. It requires knowing what you feel and what you want rather than what you think other people want you to feel and want you to want. But when you're constantly filling your head with other people's content, you never really quiet the noise enough to figure out what is actually yours. And there's a quote from this week that I really like that says, "It is a paradox that by emptying our lives of distractions, we are actually filling the well. Without distractions, we are once again thrust into the sensory world." Reading deprivation casts us into our own inner silence. We often cannot hear our own inner voice, the voice of our artist inspiration above the static. In practicing reading deprivation, if we monitor the inflow and keep it to a minimum, we will be rewarded for our reading deprivation with embarrassing speed. Our reward will be a new outflow. Our own art, our own thoughts and feelings will begin to nudge aside the sludge of blockage to loosen it and move it upward and outward until once again our own creative well is running freely. Reading deprivation is a very powerful tool. For most blocked creatives, reading is an addiction. We gobble the words of others rather than digest our own thoughts and feelings, rather than cook up something of our own. So for the next week, instead of scrolling or reading, there's going to be a lot of space for things to come up. I'm really curious to see what happens to my thoughts, my imagination, my dreams even. I usually read before I go to bed every single night. I already started doing this last night and I felt like it was so hard to go to bed without reading. My mind was just racing, but eventually I did it. I think it will hopefully be something that just takes a little bit of getting used to. The reading deprivation experiment really builds on something that I've been doing for a month now, which is morning pages. Journaling every single morning right when I wake up has been creating so much space for me to actually see what is underneath the surface of my thoughts. When I used to just wake up and rush into my day, I never realized how much was going on in the background of my mind. The pages have been revealing how often I say that things are okay, or I just kind of repress how I'm feeling when they're really something that's actually bothering me. In this chapter, Julia Cameron talks a lot about how when we say okay, it's actually a blanket word that covers up all of these uncomfortable feelings that we have. She has this line that says, "Does I feel okay mean you feel resigned, accepting, comfortable, detached, numb, pleased, satisfied? Like, what does okay even mean?" So I feel like doing the morning pages has really helped me to process what I'm feeling and then give me the confidence to have uncomfortable, hard conversations that normally I wouldn't have because I feel empowered and confident in my own thoughts. And I realize that they're taking up space from my creativity. And if I could free myself from these things that are ruminating in my mind, then I will be able to have more space to pursue my creativity and pursue the things that are actually really meaningful to me. I don't think you guys have been in this room before, so welcome to my bedroom. Part of the challenges this week revolved around letting go of things that don't serve you, and one of the tasks was to go through your closet and get rid of an old item of clothing or something that you're holding on to that is not really bringing you joy anymore. And I honestly have a tendency to keep clothes that no longer fit me because my body fluctuates a lot. I'm just like holding on to these things that I have outgrown, and I have had this bag sitting in my closet for so long since we moved in here, and I scheduled a donation for tomorrow, so I'm gonna go through my closet and see if there's anything else that I've been holding on to that I also want to donate. I think it's gonna feel so good to finally get rid of it. I think just reading the chapter this week and also not being able to scroll and read, I've just been paying more attention to the things around me, and I feel so bothered by the way that my closet is organized right now and some of our cabinets and my bathroom. So I'm definitely going to do a little bit of nesting and cleaning and reorganizing, and I feel like it will just create a lot more mental space for me going throughout the next couple of weeks too. I feel like every time I open my closet, I'm just not excited by what's in there. I have so many comfy fall and winter clothes that I have invested in, but I feel like I haven't bought spring or summer clothes in a few years, and all the clothes that I have for spring or summer right now don't really fit me right, or I just don't feel good in them, so I wear like the same couple of outfits and I just feel so uninspired by them. So I'm excited to clean some of this stuff out and then pick out a couple of things that I feel excited to wear. It's so interesting as I'm going through these things and deciding whether or not I want to throw them out. I'm feeling this sense of guilt almost. Like I have a bunch of nice pairs of jeans that don't fit me anymore, and I feel like I've kept them because I just feel guilty of I spent money on them, and now that they don't fit, I wasted money, even though I've worn them a ton of times, and now they'll serve someone else a better purpose and they're really giving me no use. Keeping them is not absolving me of guilt. So I feel like I just have to come to an acceptance of they had a good life and I wore them a lot of times, got my good use out of them, and I don't need to hold on to things that I've outgrown, and someone else can enjoy them now. So this feels really good. I am officially a month into doing morning pages, and this has been one of my favorite parts of doing the artist way because I feel like it has been such a helpful way for me to get clear on how I'm actually feeling, especially as someone like throughout the day. Sometimes I let things become bottled up or I keep things close to the chest. Sometimes I don't allow myself to feel emotions to the fullest, and then it becomes a bigger issue down the line. And really, with my morning pages, I've been trying to give myself complete permission, complete freedom to just journal exactly how I feel with no censoring that I was having before doing this and no self editing. And it's really been such a helpful tool to be like, oh, okay, this is how I actually feel about this, rather than when I say I'm okay or I'm fine, which Julia Cameron talks about in the book. Like, we're all so trained to kind of shut off how we're actually feeling and prevent ourselves from getting to the root of what is underneath the surface. The pages kind of dig a little bit more each day to get underneath the socially acceptable feelings that we have and get to the root of what we're actually feeling. With the artist way, it's sometimes easy to have big expectations of what's going to happen from doing the challenges or doing it each week. And even from doing morning pages for a month, I think that there doesn't need to be this whole big takeaway or transformation. It really is happening in a subtle way in the small steps. Even just being consistent to something for a month has felt really good and is really building trust with myself and helping me to clarify my thinking rather than just running on autopilot. Okay, but we need to talk about this reading deprivation because it has been so interesting. There's this line in the book where Julia Cameron says, if you're not reading, you will run out of work and be forced to play. But honestly, I haven't felt that. If anything, I feel like I've just found other ways to kind of stay busy and avoid the quiet. But this week I've been having a lot of work, a lot of videos have been due, a lot of brand partnerships have been due. I've been editing this project and just getting home from a trip. I feel like I'm not consciously trying to overwork, but I think subconsciously, since I know that I'm not having time to read or to, scroll through social media, I have just been honestly working more, which It's not a bad thing, but I think it is this like constant need to distract and like avoid boredom. The biggest challenge has really been falling asleep because I usually read before bed every night. And the first 3 nights, my mind was going crazy and I felt like I was never going to be able to fall asleep. But eventually I did. And then I'm realizing that it's becoming easier. I tried to do a meditation before bed last night and I'm able to get to like a sense of relief with my thoughts eventually. So that has been cool to kind of see the arc of that. But I do really miss reading before bed, and I will definitely be going back to it next week. Also, with social media, I have opened Instagram and TikTok a disgusting amount of times this week and have just had to practice continually closing the app. What is interesting is just the impulse itself, like the amount of times I click on it and then close it when I realize I'm not supposed to be on social media. It's kind of telling of what I'm trying to escape. I really notice when I'm walking somewhere or I'm waiting for the subway or I'm in line somewhere, like my immediate urge is just to go on my phone. And instead, I have been really trying to practice looking around and notice just people watch more and notice things that I wouldn't normally pay attention to. So far, I have really stuck with it. I've watched a couple of videos by accident. I've clicked on a couple of people's stories, but for the most part, I've stayed off of it. I think that this challenge would be a little bit easier if I wasn't posting because I still have been posting my own content every day and like replying to comments and stuff. But I feel like it would have been easier if I could have just totally deleted the apps for the week and really taken a step back from them, which I could do, but I really love creating content and I love posting, and that's part of my creative expression. So I kept that in for the week. Guys, it is absolutely pouring rain outside, and I just got home right before it started raining. So I am feeling so grateful to be in my cozy home, especially on our new couch that we just got. But I was looking through my journal of the exercises that I've done this week so far, and the buried dream exercise was one. And when I first saw it, it talks a lot about like what are 5 hobbies that I would do, or 5 classes I would take, or things that I would never do that sound fun, skills that would be fun, things I used to enjoy but don't do now. And I I feel like nothing was coming up. Like I have allowed myself to pursue a lot of the dreams that I have. And part of me was like, do I really not have buried dreams or am I just completely blocked and I don't even know it? So they say to do the exercise pretty quickly so that you can't overthink it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to just try to do it and see what comes up. And with hobbies, one that came up was crocheting. I really want to learn to crochet, but I keep telling myself that it's too hard and I won't be able to learn. One that came up was coding, which I feel I've always been so drawn to. I took a Python class when I was in college and I made the easiest little game and I felt so proud of myself. I literally felt like an absolute genius. So I feel like it would be fun to do like a vibe coding project. And I really want to do a pottery class. I tried to do one and it was so difficult. I was really bad at it. I've done a lot of pottery painting, but I haven't done a lot of like fully sculpting the ceramics, and I really want to make my own coffee mug. And I feel like that could be a cool goal to have. With classes, I feel like a lot of the things that I shy away from are things that are performance based, and I've always really been like this since I was a kid. If I was in gymnastics or dance classes, my mom used to be like, "Oh, JC's going to go to all the practices, but she's not going to do the end of year performance, or she's not going to do the dance recital." And I really have always just had a fear of performing since a very young age because I'm scared to mess up or I'm scared to forget. And I feel like even as I have gotten older and become so much more confident, this is something that still lingers. I started taking some little fun dance classes, and there's a part of the class where you have to perform, and I really struggle with that part, but I love the actual act of dancing and being in my body. So I think it's just exposure therapy that I keep having to continue doing these things that require performance so that I feel more confident. I think it was a really interesting exercise to see, especially if you're someone that isn't pursuing a lot of your dreams right now. Like answer these questions and see if any patterns or old stories are coming up. Like for me, performing was definitely a story that has been very present in my life for a long time. And it's just interesting to notice. The 2 time travel exercises this week I thought were so cute. One was writing from your 8-year-old self to yourself now, which I'm 27 years old, and the other one was writing about your 80-year-old self in detail. And I felt like both of these were such good ways to zoom out of your current life and remember what actually matters to you. Are you living your life in a way that is in alignment with your values? Are you living your life in a way that would make your 8-year-old and your 80-year-old self proud? Really help you look at where you need to recalibrate. If not, I did the letter for my 8-year-old self first, and I just had an immense sense of pride for my life now. And I know that my 8-year-old self would be so, so proud of me if she was watching how my life was right now. And also just in awe. Like when I was younger, I used to be so shy and just so scared to fail. that I wouldn't take any risks. And I also was really curious and imaginative, and I loved to create stories, and I loved to just understand the why behind things. And I've really created a life now where I'm honoring so many of the things that I loved as a kid, which just feels really special to be able to see the things that I loved when I was younger and realize that I actually am making a lot of time for them now, and I can enjoy them more now because I'm not so anxious all the time. And then when you're doing this visualization of your 80-year-old self and how you imagine them feeling and living and being interested in, it really strips away all the noise of the things that might be superficial that we care about now. I always find myself getting so caught up in metrics and followers and views and also physical appearance, like how I'm looking and how my body is changing. And I know that when I'm 80 years old, those things are not going to be important to me. The things that are going to be important to me are my relationships with other people, my hobbies, and the things that I love to do in community, and making time for the things that I really care about, that really light me up inside, and feeling like I am able to feel peaceful and easeful and creative in my own body. And I think that there's some things that I'm doing now that are like directly in contrast to me feeling peace and at ease. Even though I really try to be intentional about how I'm spending my time, there are some little like, self-sabotagey things, scrolling on my phone or comparing myself to other people, even body checking in the mirror or keeping clothes that don't fit me anymore. There are things that I'm doing now that are just a result of stories that I'm telling myself and aren't actually aligned with how I truly feel and my actual values. So I feel like these exercises, even if you're not doing the artist way, are so helpful to just like bring you back down to earth and bring you back to what actually matters, and it's completely unique to you. All I want to do right now is read. I want to sit on our comfy new couch and I want to read a book. I really thought about breaking my reading deprivation streak, but I did not for you guys. It's really getting to me. I feel like with social media, I just keep opening Instagram and TikTok and then closing it, opening, closing it, and just having that continual pattern of it because I am so used to scrolling. But I was telling Ben last night, I feel like mundane things are becoming more interesting because I'm just feeling more present. Like instead of pulling my phone out when I'm walking or waiting for something, I'll just people watch and notice what's around me. When I was even cooking last night, I felt like I was moving more slowly and was just more present. I can definitely feel my nervous system regulating a bit. I've also just been so tired this week, so I'm kind of dragging. But yeah, it's Friday, so only 2 more days left of the reading deprivation challenge. The only thing that I might do, which is probably against the rules of this deprivation, is for my artist date this week, I really want to just go down a deep dive rabbit hole about the science behind dreams and how our brains function when we're having a dream, and like how do dreams even form, because I'm feeling really curious about it. And I feel like if I asked Julia Cameron, she would give me permission to do a little deep dive down a curiosity rabbit hole. I hope. But I'm going to take creative liberty because that's really what's calling to me for the artist date this week. I might do it now, honestly. I'm going to do my artist date in 2 parts. I think I'm going to start doing it now, and then I'm going to do it a little bit more tomorrow morning. We're wrapping up week 4, and I just looked up the definition of integrity because when I'm thinking about integrity, I know it means to be honest and to have strong principles. But with the exercises this week, I kind of wanted to understand why she chose this word of integrity. And the second definition that I found was the state of being whole and undivided, which I absolutely love. And I feel like this week was a lot about learning to honor your feelings and learning to honor what is really true for you right now in this moment, even if it's different from what has been true for you in the past. Doing things like the time travel and the morning pages and the closet clean out really help you to take a moment and ask yourself what is feeling good for you right now, and give yourself the space to recalibrate or make a different decision if you realize how you're living now isn't how you actually want to be living. Which is another reason why the reading deprivation and the media consumption deprivation that I did this week is to create that space for your voice, your truth to emerge and come to the surface, instead of taking on so many other people's truth that it disconnects you from your own inner knowing and inner voice. But I think towards the end of the week, the deprivation got really challenging, and I am actually fiending to read right now. All I want to do is pick a book from that bookshelf and sit down on the couch and read. I feel like I've kind of created a lot of other strategies to stay busy this week. I found myself working a lot or just still seeking out other random ways to distract. But when I was able to kind of suppress that urge to distract, I kind of just found being more present to what I had in the moment, which I think was the whole point. Also, I need to give you guys a little screen time update. So this week I did not scroll on any social media. I did post on social media because that's my job. So I posted and I replied to comments and messages, but I didn't consume really other people's content. There was some stories here and there that I clicked on and I started scrolling by accident. So that was really the only thing. But comparing last week, I was on my phone for an average of like 5 hours a day, and looking through each bucket, I was on Instagram one day for 1 hour and 41 minutes and TikTok 45 minutes, 2 hours and 41 minutes and 50 minutes. So like I was totaling like 3 hours a day on Instagram and TikTok basically for the last week. And granted, yes, it is my job, but there's a lot of time where I'm just scroll. And then this week, I was on my phone 19% less overall from last week, which is great. On Instagram, I was there for like 40 minutes a day. For the whole week, it says I was on Instagram for 4 hours and 32 minutes, which I don't even know I was on for 4 hours, and TikTok for 55 minutes. And last week, I was on Instagram for 11 hours and 27 minutes and TikTok for 3 hours and 55 minutes. What is that math? So I spent a total of 15 and a half hours on TikTok and Instagram last week. And this week, I spent a total 5.4. So I went from 15.4 to 5.4. This week, I got 10 extra hours in my week. Pretty good, huh? That's crazy, though, to look at those statistics. That makes me really not want to scroll. Imagine you had 10 more hours of your week every single week. That's crazy. I need to put some limits up in here. I think I went into this week with a little bit of an expectation that by not scrolling and not consuming media and not reading for a week, I would have this huge imagination breakthrough and I would be a creative genius. And at the end of the week, I honestly just feel more present and more calm, a little more clear in my own line of thinking, because there's nothing really to compare it to, but I am really missing reading. And I think that there just needs to be a little bit of discernment of like what you're using as a means to escape and what you're using as a means to numb and distract, and then things that you're doing just for pure pleasure and that actually can enhance your creativity and your imagination. Like I read a lot of fantasy books and I feel like they open my mind up to new ways of thinking, and I don't really feel like it's this numbing, distracting sensation. Like I actually feel like it really enhances my creativity. So I don't know really if I would recommend this reading deprivation period. I think it's always good to kind of take a look at your habits and experiment with them and see if maybe something that you've been holding on to really tightly actually isn't working for you anymore. But I don't think that it's really necessary even to do a reading deprivation. I think overall this week just gave me an opportunity to reconnect with what matters, really take a moment to see if the way that I'm living my life aligns with my values, aligns with what I actually want to be doing. I feel pretty good about where I'm at, and I feel like I have really created a life that is aligned with my values, and that of course there's little, tweaks and adjustments that you can make here and there, but overall doing those time travel exercises for a younger version of me and an older version of me, I feel like both of them would be really proud and aligned with where I'm at right now. Okay, thank you so much for being here and coming with me on another week of The Artist's Way. I feel like this was probably the most challenging week yet, and a week where I was like, I don't know about this artist way thing. I don't want to keep doing it right now. And a lot of moments where I wanted to give up. And I feel like I could see a lot of moments where someone else was doing this, and this is the week that really just ruins it for them. So hang in there if you're doing this and you are on week 4. Not every week is going to be a creative breakthrough, and there's going to be different things that are shifting from week to week, even if it's really subtle and you might not be noticing at the surface. So next week we will be doing week 5, which is recovering a sense of possibility. A lot about exploring what happens when we stop limiting ourselves with this realistic thinking and we let ourselves dream bigger and imagine more. And I feel like this is something that I do subconsciously, without even realizing it, I am not dreaming big enough. So I'm excited to see the exercises for next week and see what comes up. Thank you so, so much for being here. As always, let me know how it's going for you in the comments if you are doing this along with me. I love you guys so much, and I'm just so grateful to have you on my cozy corner of the internet. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, your night, your week, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.